Yeah, you look big over there. Okay, so another question that we got asked was, what happens when you hit a plateau during prep? Very good question.
All right, so you hit a plateau during your prep. It's funny, when people ask us questions, it's like I have 10 questions for you. Because I just need info, because it always depends. So I'm just going to try and be general. We'll try to get through this and just give you the best information possible right now.
There's really two ways to break through a plateau. And the first is maybe you need a diet break. You know, maybe you need to get out of the deficit, give yourself some calories for maybe 5 to 7 days back at maintenance, and then go straight back into the prep, straight back to the deficit.
Yeah, so it really depends on how much time you have, how aggressive the fat loss phase is. Those really depend on what's the, you know, are we gonna pull the trigger, or are we gonna take a step back, you know, put the foot on the gas pedal or take it off, right? So going back to what she said of diet breaks, if you are doing multi-day refeeds, or if you're doing any carb cycling at all, or if you are doing some type of, you know, if you have the time, maybe a diet break is really great. I mean, this is kind of fairly new stuff. I don't know how much research is actually out there on diet breaks, but there's definitely a lot of case studies within the bodybuilding community, within the coaches, of how, you know, how they do things for their clients. So yeah, hopefully you have a coach and you trust them and you guys are working as a team here. And yeah, sometimes the best decision is actually to take a step back and say, okay, let's give ourselves a break. So what she was talking about is a diet break of taking yourself out of the deficit via going back, you know, your calories up to maintenance, sometimes, you know, usually through carbohydrates. And with that, it really...
Our body adapts kind of to like the low calories, you know, and then if you don't want to get like too low, which I mean, that's going to be the second part of the what to do if you hit a plateau. But yeah, it gets you, because your body's adapting to these low calories. Sometimes it's good to bring you out of that. You might gain a few pounds or something like that, but then after the diet break, go straight back into the deficit and start the fat loss phase again.
Yeah, so like your cortisol is going to be up when you're dieting. You're going to be you might be retaining water because of that.
Stressed out. Your body might be really stressed.
There's other hormones going on, your leptin levels. I mean, I don't really want to get too much into that, but I just want to tell you the practical use of it. It really helps with hormones. It's kind of like this, it tricks your body, not tricks your body, but tells your body, hey, we're out of the fat loss phase. We're out of the deficit. You can take the stress back. You can decrease your cortisol levels. And sometimes that might be what's holding you back from losing weight. You know, your sleep gets better, your recovery gets better, so you're going to be training hard in the gym again, you're going to be feeling renewed, your mood's going to improve. So that's a lot of the practical uses of why diet breaks are good, because then you get back in the deficit, and maybe you've even been walking more because of it, right? Your energy expenditure went up a little bit. You might not gain as much weight as you think, but it's totally natural if you do.
And that's why it's really good to take longer preps. That's why it's good to have longer preps, because you can implement these things like a diet break when you hit a plateau, or carb cycling. Yeah. Okay, so
we talked a little bit about diet breaks, but let's get back to the question, right? You hit a plateau, and let's say you do have a coach, someone's very smart, you trust. And the reason why I say you should have a coach or someone smart looking after you is because you want to be objective. If you, depending on how long the prep is, and if you have to be aggressive or if you have time, which it seems like the trend is longer preps these days. People are kind of realizing the conditioning is getting a lot tougher to reach, and it's just getting super competitive. So it's like some people diet for a whole year. You know, I know natural pros, bodybuilders that diet for 9 months to a year. So it's about being objective to the problem. Like, do you have a certain amount of time? Do you have a time limit? Like, do you need to press the gas pedal?
And then the other part is when you hit a plateau and say, you know, you don't have a lot of time. Maybe that's the time to push harder. Maybe that's the time to cut the calories more, increase cardio, maybe throw in HIIT and get going here. That's another way when you hit a plateau during prep. So you can either be doing, you can do a diet break, or it just means that you gotta go harder now. It's time to really push and go and getting really into that deficit, make that major change.
Okay, so let's say you have a longer contest prep, you've done diet breaks, you still just hit a plateau, and it's like, now it's a crunch for time. Now we're kind of really getting close. Maybe you're 12 weeks out and you still have 15 pounds to lose or something like that, and you've done a long prep, like you really started, you know, you've already lost 30 pounds or something like that. I think hopefully you have these other things that you can, you know, have in your back pocket, right? Maybe you haven't been doing much cardio yet and the calories aren't too low yet. So I guess a good way to approach it in like a measurable way is, how many calories per pound are you eating? So you take your body weight and how many calories you are and you divide those, and it's like, okay, maybe you're eating 15 calories per pound of body weight. Well, maybe you should bring that to 14 or 13 or even 12. So I guess that is one way you can kind of bring yourself more into a deficit. And like she said, maybe you want to bring up the cardio, maybe you should be walking every day, hitting a certain amount of steady state. Maybe you should implement HIIT because you're crunched for time and you're so busy with your schedule, and it's like, I don't have time to walk 4 hours a week or whatever it is. And then, yeah, you got to cut the calories. You got to be more aggressive with the fat loss. I mean, you can even still carb cycle during this. You just have to be really strict on your low days, and then the high days, they're not as high as you would like them to be. But yeah, in the end, you just need to be more in a deficit, and you need to be moving more, or you need to be eating less, or both. And I think a good, maybe you should talk about what's like a respectable adjustment.
Yeah, an adjustment that I would make is, say, you know, usually we like to do things in 3 weeks, and if we've hit some type of plateau, the weight isn't moving anymore, still hanging steady there, I would just then go ahead and make an adjustment. That's what I would do. I would go, all right, it's time to cut calories, it's time to increase cardio. That's what I would do.
Yeah, and what I meant by respectable adjustment is, I don't think cutting food by whatever, it's like you can either do too much or you can do too little. So it's like, what is that sweet spot? And it really just depends. But I wouldn't be cutting 10 carbs and 2 fat or something like that. No. Or like adding just like 5-10 minutes of cardio. Like, it really needs to be a respectable, maybe 40 carbs, maybe 10 fat, maybe even 20 fat. I mean, if you really have some crunch time and you're eating, if you're a male and you're eating 60 fat and it's crunch time, you're 8 weeks out, you need 4 or 5 pounds to lose, maybe you should go to 40 fat. Just make that huge jump, and you will really...
You gotta shock the body. I mean, we're getting extremely lean here. That's why it's good to do these things all together. So when we do make a change, it's like food, cutting the calories, adding the cardio. You know, you gotta shock your body to get things rolling, to get the weight off.
Yeah, and it's a preference thing. So if you don't want to do any cardio, you don't have any time, you're okay with getting to lower than 100 carbs for a male even. If you're okay with that, to getting your fat to 40, your carbs under 100 even for a male, it's like, do it. Like, people, I think what's happening too, especially in like the drug-free world for bodybuilding, is people are realizing you need to push your clients more, and I think that's a lot of mistakes coaches don't make, is these athletes, especially if they're really elite athletes, they want to look the part, and it's kind of your duty to push them if needed. Obviously, you don't want to run them into the ground and like don't give them any refeeds or anything like that. Like, I think there is a time and place to implement these adjustments.
And that's why it's good to have a coach. You guys can work together on this, but that coach is there to make a move that you wouldn't do or to make the right move for you, because you might run yourself into the ground. You might add more cardio when it doesn't need to be, or really drop those calories and just run yourself down. And having a coach is there to get the stress off of you. We're objective. We see the numbers. We see that's going on, and we work with our clients side by side. I mean, we ask them. We just really work together on it, but there's a time in a prep where things get serious. Things get tough, things get rough, and that's the sport of bodybuilding. That's what you got to do.
So just to reiterate what she's saying is that's why it's so good to have a coach, is it's to be objective. Like, maybe you're gonna make adjustments too quick. You just cut your calories last week and you just added cardio and it's been 5 days and you're like, I'm not seeing results or this and that. Well, maybe your stress is going up, you're holding water, you're retaining water, and that's why you're not losing weight. So you might need, hey, let's do a huge refeed. Hey, let's do a diet break. Hey, let's take our foot off the gas pedal real quick, and you'll be surprised what can happen. At the same time, you need that coach to say, hey, it's grind time. It's time to bring that fat down to 40 or whatever it may be. It's time to do that extra cardio. This isn't negotiable. And that's what's good about having a coach that you trust. It's like, they're not going to run you into the ground, but you need to do the work they say. You need to be consistent.
And you will hit plateaus during prep. Yeah. You will. I do. Kyle does. It's the part, and that's why, coach, you guys are there to work together and get through that plateau in the responsible way, the most optimal way for you.
And a side note, if you're like talking about plateauing and training or something like that, that's a whole nother subject. But just think about maybe deload weeks and kind of managing fatigue in your training. So you don't want to be doing too much. You really want to see what you can get away with. But you want to keep the muscle, obviously. You want to do enough work to keep the muscle as you're in that fat loss phase. So I don't really want to get too much into that. But
yeah, I think we answered your question, and thank you so much. If anybody has anything else you want to add about the whole thing, I think we answered everything.
I think we're good. I mean,
So yeah, we're gonna continue doing these videos. If you have any questions you want us to answer, please go in the comments and ask the question. If you like this video, please make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel to get awesome information and knowledge out of me and Kyle.
Yep. Just trying to give you guys some practical information that you can kind of just take and run with it and hopefully use it and get you some good results.
Yeah.